Hey, deserving listeners, sister wives, let's check it out.
It's been about 2.5 years since Cody and I have met each other, and I met the family, and we've been courting, and we got married, and things have been a little bit rocky between Christine and I. I think just because she has perceived me as maybe coming in and throwing off her marriage with Cody.
Okay, so we're learning that at this point, it's been 2.5 years since Robin has entered the family, and according to her perception, she thinks that the issue is that Christine believes that Robin entering the family throws off the relationship between Cody and Christine.
A new wife coming into a plural family always shakes it up a little bit. And I never experienced a new wife coming into the family. I was the last wife for 16 years. I really didn't think I'd get jealous. I really didn't. I've always been a very secure person, secure in my relationship with Cody. I really didn't think anything would rock that boat whatsoever. It's still hard. Cody had met Robin 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've said this before, but the way that they talk, I landed on a bad frame there, is very similar to the way that polyamorous people will talk. This is not polyamory, by the way, but the issue of jealousy is talked about in a similar way. Jealousy is something that has to be talked about in a more open and explicit and expected way. Like, typically when, at least anecdotally, when people engage in a committed relationship that is monogamous, there isn't an explicit conversation or mindfulness about, well, what do I do when I get jealous or when there's a trigger to be jealous? It's a thing that people think about and are faced with often, but within polyamory, it's explicitly discussed often. There is an expectation that, of course, you are going to have varying levels of jealousy. And also, if someone claims that they don't think they'll ever be jealous, there will be a little bit of pushback on that from others saying, well, you never know. I thought that too until this happened, and then for some reason it just tweaked me. I had a polyamorous polycule that came to me for a while, and one of the members of the polyamorous group of romantic relationships, different configurations, was one of the members said that she had never experienced jealousy unless her primary partner was attracted or seemingly attracted to someone that looked like her. If he was attracted to someone that didn't really look like her, she was totally fine. But if she looked like her, or according to her perception, looked like her, then it would really make her jealous, like extremely. If she was either 0 or 10, and we had to have long conversations about that. What does that mean? What are the ways of coping with it? And in polyamorous conversations around this, sometimes you conclude that the person getting jealous has to deal with that, and certainly the relationships can support that. Maybe there's some reassurances that have to be made or some boundaries on the relationship. But other times, what it means is that the person who is, so the woman is saying, my primary man, I get jealous of it. Sometimes the man, after talking about it, everyone will conclude, well, I think the best option is if the man just never dates anyone that even closely resembles his primary. There's a lot of different things that happen. Of course, in polygamy, in a highly patriarchal system, it's on the sister wives to cope with that. What I don't know, and I wish I knew, and maybe they'll get into it, I doubt they will, is before Robin entered, or as Robin and Cody were courting, what's the timeline there? Because the way it's been told to us, and who knows, is that Cody went to a social event, and I think Mary might have been there as well. Maybe all the sister wives were. And Robin was there as a divorcee. And there was some spark between Cody and Robin. And then Cody and Mary had a conversation about that. And Cody was like, well, she's divorced, so that's a no-go. And then Mary was saying, no, don't worry about it. Like, that's okay. We should, let's go for this. Cody, come on. And where was Christine in that? Was Christine there? Was she a part of those conversations? Was she informed shortly afterwards? And if she was, what was her demeanor? Was she immediately upset about it, or was she just internally upset, or did she predict that everything would be fine? Or was she like 10% worried and 90% okay, or the opposite? And then once Robin came in, then she started to feel upset, because a lot hinges on, for me anyway, was Christine involved in the early decision-making process? Because once the ball gets rolling, you could argue that any of the sister wives would conclude that to stand in the way of the process now, it's not going to work. It's just going to throw a wrench in the situation, or it's going to taint the relationship. You can imagine if Christine at a certain point is like, I don't want this to go forward, but if I am vocal about that, and it's sort of like if you have a friend of yours that is engaged to someone that you don't like and you worry is not good for your friend. What do you say? Do you go to your friend and say, let's say you really hate your friend's partner, and you go to your friend and you're like, I hate your partner. I think your partner is a horrible person because of this, this, and this. And then let's say your friend moves forward with the marriage and they're married for the next 20 years. Every time you see your friend and you hang out, if that's even possible, your good friend is going to look at you like, well, you hate my partner. It's fraught, right? So Christine could have felt like that. It's like, well, I want to say something, but I can't because it'll make it so it'll be automatically awkward between me. I don't know. Where is it? The way it looks is that Christine wasn't on board from the very beginning, but we didn't hear that specifically, and I don't know if we ever will.
And it's still hard. Do you remember the first time you met everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
I fell in love with you guys.
Yeah, and I wanted that to happen so bad, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to sell our family to her.
You did a good job.
I was the most secure person that I knew.
Okay, so this is looking like Christine was on board and at least mostly okay, if not entirely okay, with Robin entering the family. That's kind of what it sounds like.
I was. I didn't think that I would get jealous. I didn't think that mine and Cody's relationship would.
So, why do I keep ending?
Sorry.
So, being secure is related, but not the same thing as not likely to experience jealousy. For Christine, maybe she is very secure, but no one is 100% secure. Also, you could be very secure, but if there's a threat, like I feel pretty secure in my relationship with my wife, but if she were to marry someone else, it would hurt me and it would challenge my relationship. It would make me feel like I am not the priority that I want to be, right? So they frame it as jealousy, but you could argue that it's not, because typically we say jealousy is something that is irrational or unwanted or unfair or something. It's not always, of course, but that's, I think, how they're framing it. Another way of looking at this is that Christine is being pushed aside, at the very least, to, I'd say what percent. So before she would have gotten 33% of his time, and now she's going from 33 to 25. So that's a reduction in terms of percentage. So 100%, I don't know, what kind of percent, is that like a 25% or some kind of lowering? And could be argued, since Cody is really into Robin at this point, it could be like a drastic reduction in attachment and attention and vibe. So one could argue that it's not jealousy, but it's just normal hurt. Like if my wife just decided to no longer spend most of her time with me and she wanted to spend time with this new guy, I wouldn't say, well, I'm just jealous. I would say, like, I'm being rejected. I'm being dumped. I'm being like quiet dumped.
Be bad. Because our relationship was always good. It was easy.
There's been times when I've sat and I thought, I don't know how you guys let me in.
Well, I knew you belonged in our family. But then I got really...
Oh, hallelujah. We are hearing. Let's rewind that. So she's saying, I knew that you were right. So we are hearing that Christine was on board. Someone said to me in the comments that Christine was not on board from the beginning, and because they were correcting me. And maybe that's a detail that I missed in the data, but I also wonder if that's a retcon that either the audience has made, or maybe Christine later makes that claim, like, I was never on board. And maybe she's spinning things right now, but a lot of things are in line with Christine being complete, at least mostly on board. Maybe if Christine had a choice, she would say, why do this? But anyway, let's rewind.
I don't know how you guys let me in.
Well, I knew you belonged in our family. But then I got really jealous.
Yeah.
I knew you belonged in our family, but then I got jealous. Yeah, I'm guessing there's a lot of nuance there, but I don't know. To me, that says that she was at least verbally on board.
I've had a hard time dealing with their struggle with me because they all accepted me. If they hadn't wanted me in the family, all they would have had to say was no, Cody, and he would have dropped it. And so when they're struggling, although they chose this and they agreed to it, it's very hard for me not to take it personally and think that somehow it's me, that they just don't like me, period. It's a confusing thing for me.
Yeah, so I talked about this in the first season when Robin was coming around, that for the addition of Robin and her kids, that a lot of systemic changes and adjustments would have to be made to create a new system that was optimal and healthy. In my world, it's more along the lines of blended families, or if there's a new child or an adoption or something, or a kid moves out. Now, usually families can manage in a healthy way, but it doesn't hurt to have an expert, a family therapist, there to assess and help adjust and help point out needs as you go through that. For the family to do what they did, I wondered how they are going to reconfigure. And it's evidence that they didn't put enough effort, or they didn't know to, in that Robin and Christine have seemingly never had a frank and honest conversation until 2.5 years in. If they had hired me, that my style is to work with dyads, different configurations, and the entire family. But I would tend to break out different groups of people, and as soon as even before, I would say, each person with Robin I would want a meeting with. And it would probably come to the fore that there was some issue there, and we would want to work that out. If that had been done, if they had done this, I'm assuming, then I think things could have been prevented. It sounds like things are going to work out, but it seems like there's been a lot of struggle between Christine and Cody, and maybe Christine and Robin, right?
I want you to know, during all of it, it was him that I had a hard time with. It wasn't you. It was Cody. I just felt left.
That's really good, and this is in line with Christine's other statements. She seems to be pretty differentiated and self-aware about that. That's very likely the case. That's what I was assuming. It has nothing to do with Robin, and has everything to do with Christine and her attachment, her bond, her relationship with Cody. Robin has something to do with it, but really Christine is experiencing a loss of that closeness with Cody, and that's what her concern is. So that's good for her to know, and especially to say to both of them, both to Cody and to Robin. And right now, it's good to say to Robin, it's a good gesture. If she's like, look, this isn't anything about you. This is about me and Cody. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So it's that time of year again. It's September, back to school, time to learn new things. And if you're a fan of this podcast, then I'm guessing you like to learn new things. But you might find that although you've learned a lot, you have a hard time applying this knowledge to better your life. This can be frustrating, you might know why you have a particular psychological issue, but you don't know how to use that knowledge to work on the issue. Well, that's where therapy comes in. A therapist can help you see how this knowledge applies to you specifically. And therapy also just gives you the time to focus on yourself outside of daily stressors. Well, one place you can find a therapist is at BetterHelp. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, it's definitely worth checking out BetterHelp. So rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
And
Why do you think he left?
because I became jealous and it changed our relationship. And I started questioning what he was doing. I started being like,
Yeah, so I don't know if she's throwing herself under the bus or she's just saying this because she's on the camera or this is internalized sexism or if this is the way that it is, but this is consistent with previous statements that the relationship between Cody and Christine hadn't actually fundamentally changed other than a sort of a backslide, or I don't know what to say, but a cut back in terms of how much time he would spend with her. But going from 33% of his time to 25% isn't like drastic, depending on how you look at it. But what she's saying here is consistent with statements before, particularly what Mary was getting at, is that for Christine, she made it a problem, or that's one negative way, or it was affecting her, and that led to her being in a bad mood around Cody, and then that's what got the ball rolling of Cody and Christine having tension. Now, earlier I was saying maybe she's just throwing herself under the bus because the sister wives, as I've heard before and stated, that they don't know that they have value and that Cody needs to be responsible. They don't want to voice that because they don't want Cody to think negatively about them. They're in competition with others, so they're not being vocal about that, if that makes sense. Anyway, so I don't know, but at least verbally she's describing that, and that makes sense. And it was one of the hypotheses that I had.
well, why do you need to go? I don't get that. Why? But it's like when my kids are ornery, I don't really want to be around them. So I understand, but still I'm like, I don't really care. Because at some point you promised me that you'd be with me through thick and thin.
Wait, what did she say about her kids? That's it. Let's go.
Why do you think he left?
Because I became jealous and it changed our relationship. And I started questioning what he was doing. I started being like, well, why do you need to go? I don't get that. Why? But it's like when my kids are ornery, I don't really want to be around them. So I understand, but still I'm like, I don't really care.
Oh, so she's saying when my kids are ornery, I don't want to be around them. Yeah, and that makes sense that she would look for those analogies. The frequent analogy is that the sister wives are to Cody the way the kids are to the sister wives, which is not great.
Because at some point you promised me that you'd be with me through thick and thin, and you're not being with me, and that's not okay. So I just expected more of him. I did. And so it wasn't you.
Oh, so it does sound like what her perception is, that when there was tension, Cody did distance himself. And she's saying, you said you were going to be with me through thick and thin. Yeah, okay. And I think the explicit arrangement, in this polygamous group and within this family is that he needs to uphold his commitment and responsibility to each sister wife equally. He can't phase in and out. You can't go for like even if he was really infatuated with Robin, he needs to make sure that he upholds his commitment and the lovey feelings with each sister wife, which I have to say is a lot. With polyamorous families, which is my only reference for this, these things happen sometimes. That's why they call it new relationship energy. Sometimes there's a oh my God, there's a new person, and it's like, I want to spend all the time with you. And depending, it's different. But if this was a polyamorous family, it wouldn't be uncommon for there to be an explicit conversation among everybody that, well, in all likelihood, Cody is going to want to spend a lot more time with Robin, but after the NRE, the new relationship energy, has dissipated after 12 months-ish, we'll return to some more balance, and that's okay. We'll adjust by doing it. That's not always the arrangement, but that is a conversation that sometimes is established.
It was him.
Couldn't tell. I always figured it was me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She thought I didn't like you.
Yeah. It's horrible.
So I'm not sure, but I think there is maybe some anger there from Robin. I can't tell. Obviously, there's hurt, but the way she said that, it almost seemed like Robin was saying, I thought it was me because you made it about me or something. I can't tell that. Maybe she was just being clear with her own interpretation outside of any evidence to back it up. But I also wonder about Robin's general self-esteem. There might be some kind of schema there of people hating her, or that she is wrong fundamentally somehow. There's nothing strange about her reaction and the way she's saying this. You know, if Christine is bent out of shape about Cody and Robin, it wouldn't be unusual for someone in Robin's shoes to feel like it is personal. But I don't know, I feel like we're seeing evidence of some things, and of course there would be additional nuances to her personality.
I'd talk to my mom. Say, what do I do with this? And she'd say, it's not personal, honey. Christine's struggle with you is not personal to you.
For our little birdie on her shoulder, I would say you want to thank Christine for what she's saying right now. Just, you know, Christine looks a little, I don't know, I can't tell body language wise, but it looks like she's a little miffed. Like, I'm struggling. I think Christine might be thinking, I'm struggling too with this. Some acknowledgement, it's hard, but I think Robin diplomatically could have said something like, oh my God, yeah, I can totally see how that would feel that way. And the fact that Cody, and maybe she did do those things. It was just edited out. It didn't look like it, but just take a bit of time to acknowledge and validate Christine and then get to this. And that's just a general good principle when you're talking about tense things with people.
It's just your position. And you can't take what she does personally. You just have to love her through it and show her that you love her through it.
Yeah, it sounds like Robin believes that Christine was personally attacking Robin. I mean, it's not exactly what she's saying, but it sounds like Robin is referring to conversations that she had with her mom. And yeah. And that would be concerning for Christine. She might feel like, wait, so now your mom hates me?
Yeah, it'd be hard.
I didn't marry Cody just for Cody.
Yeah, that was good. Christine did that when Robin didn't, and I left it on. And it also, I don't know, I could be reading into it, but the way Christine is saying those things, it sounds like she's 90% miffed, but she's only talking about the 10% that is being nice to Robin.
Yeah, it'd be hard.
I didn't marry Cody just for Cody. I didn't.
I know.
I remember in the beginning when you and I would kind of hang out a little bit.
Yeah.
I was really excited.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that is something that is obvious when I think about it, but I don't often think about that because I'm not in this situation. But Robin, at least consciously, must have been completely on board with having sister wives that she has to share Cody with, and she has to be completely on board consciously that she's not just marrying Cody, but she's marrying 3 sister wives, right? In some ways, I think the sister wives relationships can be a lot more involved, or, depending. But this is something I have to remember. So obviously, at least consciously, she must have been saying, not only do I want to be with Cody, but I want to be with Mary, I want to be with Janelle, I want to be with Christine. I want that. I'm choosing that. I like those people. I want to spend the rest of my life with those people. Because I think at least the narrative could be that she's coming in and, taking Cody away, and maybe subconsciously that was happening. I don't know. What do you think?
And I could see that you were having a hard time. And it made me sad because I want a relationship with you.
Yeah, me too.
I really do, Christine.
I know when you were first coming into the family, one of my sisters said, "So is Robin going to be your bestie then?" I said, "Yeah." No, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
It seems like something's going on there. And that also is in line with the narrative that Christine was at least mostly, if not completely, on board in the beginning with Robin. And then she says, the way she says that, she will be my bestie, but then that didn't happen. It seems like there's some kind of follow-up, some kind of complaint against her. I don't know. I could be reading into it. Maybe I'm just used to watching reality TV where there's always some kind of thing like that.
So do I. So do I.
Yeah. I felt like it was really good to talk. I felt like she needs to be reminded that I love her. And I know for a fact that Christine is trying to work through this. And it really probably has nothing to do with anything I did or said, or just my existence, just my position where I'm at.
It sounds like she's trying to convince herself of that. If I were a birdie on a shoulder, or her friend, or her therapist, I would say, in all likelihood, there's at least something that you did that was off-putting to Christine. At the very least, something you did with Cody, maybe, or something she thinks you did with Cody. It's possible that the majority of the issue is just the situation and also Cody and Christine, but, there's got to be something that Christine doesn't like about you. It's normal. So I would try to open that up a little bit so that there could be an opportunity there. But the way that Robin words that, it sounds like she's trying to defend against the thought that maybe she did something wrong. And it's not black and white. We all make mistakes. We're all off-putting in some way.
That I am here in their family now.
So for a while, I felt like Robin was the enemy. And now that I realize she's not the enemy, and she has my back, and she loves and cares for me, she wants the best for mine and Cody's relationship. She honestly wants it to succeed. I realize how important it is to let her in, and to trust her, and build a better relationship with her, because she's a good person.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I'm looking for negative things. If I just watched the scene, it's great. They're bonding, they're disclosing, they're kind of apologizing, or I guess Christine's apologizing in a sense to Robin. I just have to figure it's deeper than that, though. It just has to be. And I also wonder if they're going to revisit this periodically. If I were there, I would say, let's do this at least once a month, just the two of you, maybe even twice a month or something. Go to lunch and either talk about this part of the time or just bond.
That's important to me, even if she wasn't my sister.
In fact, when I say that out loud, it just makes total sense. Cody needs to have individual time with each sister wife, but everyone is essentially married with each other. Just because some of them aren't having sex with each other, they're all essentially in the spouse relationship. And I mean, not precisely the same, but they're all heavily involved with each other, and they all heavily depend and affect each other. So it would make total sense that each sister wife should have essentially like a friend date, at least periodically, maybe not as often as you have with Cody, but it should be a part of the routine, right? All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.